So I've been getting some questions about VueX Strict Mode, basically saying that the code I've written only works in non-strict mode. And so let's go ahead and take a look at what strict mode is. So it is a setting in Vue that makes sure that the VueX State is only mutated in the mutation handlers. And so if you mutate VueX State anywhere else, it's going to throw an error. And the benefit of that is that in our tracking tools here, every state change is tracked. So let's go ahead and turn on strict mode and see if we can make it work. So if you're using VueX without Nuxt, then you do it like this. When you're creating your VueX store, you mark strict equals true. And by the way, make sure not to turn it on in production because there are performance implications. And if you miss something, you'll get this terrible error page for your users, which we'll see in just a second. All right, so if you're in Nuxt, then you can turn it on for your entire store by in your store/index.js doing export const strict equals true. And now let's go ahead and see what that looks like. So we'll reload our page and all right, we mutated a VueX store state outside of mutation handlers. So that's what strict mode is and how to turn it on. In the next couple videos, we're going to see how to satisfy the requirements of strict mode. In this section, we're going to take a crack at fixing this error using a solution that might seem like a nice, obvious solution, but in fact is a bad idea that comes with several problems. And so we're just going to get it out of the way quickly so you don't make the same mistake that I did at first. Then we'll move on to a second, much better solution. And then finally, we'll show the place where this solution, or a variant of it, actually does work and is the correct solution. The core of this solution is breaking down vModel into two separate entities. So the first is value, the value prop, and the second is the input event. This is equivalent to what we had before. A vModel is just a shorthand. Of course, this would run into the exact same issue as before, so we need to have an update video method, and it'll take the field that's being updated and then the new value. And we're currently working with Vuetify. If you're not working with Vuetify, you may need to have event.target.value instead of just event. We're going to create the update video method. Before we do that, let's go ahead and apply this to video.duration as well, because it has built-in feedback right here. All right, now we'll create the update video method. We're going to take the field name as the first argument, and then the updated value. We're going to dispatch to the store, and in the videos module, we'll have an update field action, and then we'll need to send in our video as well as our field name and updated value. So we will create that update field action, and this action will take in the values we've passed and go ahead and just pass them immediately to our mutation. Then we will go ahead and make the mutation up here. And what we're going to do is on the video, we will take the field name and assign the updated value to it. Now we'll see that we can make changes here, and the changes are indeed showing up in the other places we use those variables in the app. But now we can see one of the problems. So look at how many times we call that mutation. And every time we make a change, it calls it again. That's no good. That is going to clutter up our VueX logs. And it also comes with some other problems. For example, let's say that we change the title and then we hit back without saving. The title is now changed here, and we reload, and now it's not changed. And so not only is this not the workflow we want, but it's very confusing to the user to see that it's updated when it hasn't really updated on the server. The second solution that we'll look at solves both of those problems. So let's take a look at it. Our next method for solving this will be simple. So our video is currently coming from the state, but what if we could get a copy of that video that was no longer connected to the VueX state? So what we're going to do is grab that copy, create it at the beginning. So right in here, we'll call it video copy. And then we'll use that video copy all throughout this. And then when we save the video, we'll send our new copied video to our VueX action, and then save it in the store. So let's go ahead and get that working. So first we're going to make that copy, and we are going to use Lodash, and we're going to use their clone deep method and pass in the video. And so we have the video copy up here. So if this worked correctly, then yep, there we go. And we should be able to make changes here and not make changes elsewhere. Good. Now let's go ahead and connect this video copy in the save method. So here we have save video, and that's coming in directly. We'll need a method in between when the user clicks the button and when this is called in order to get the new data properly inserted. So we will have a save method, and then we can call save video and feed it the video copy. And here we will switch this just to save that click event. Then we'll need to edit our save video method so that it takes an actual video copy. We'll do it on the edit page first, and then go back and do it on the new page. All right, so here we're going to replace the this.video with new video, which is passed in through the argument. And actually, that was a really easy change. So let's do it in both places right now. So let's test this out. We'll edit this, we'll remove the JS there, and then we'll hit save. And here we can see that it changed down there. And then when we reload the page, it's changed there. So there is a part of it that's working, but there's also a bug we need to root out. And that is what we're going to be tackling in the next section. But first, let's go ahead and demonstrate that another part of what we're trying to do is working. So we change it there, and then we hit back, and it is not changed. And when we reload, it's not changed. So that at least is an improvement, even before we fix the bug. Now let's go and investigate what's going on. So despite only discovering this bug in the most recent section, it's actually been with us for quite a while. So we added JS here, and it's reflected down here, but not up there. And that's a very curious thing. And don't worry about this error right here. That's happening because of the snackbars, and we'll fix that later in this course. So what we need to look at is what's actually being sent. So we'll look at the network, and here is the put going to the server, and we can look at the data coming back. And the JS has been added there. And that's why when we reload the page, the correct data shows up. And so there's something happening in our VueX action or mutation that is not making it reflected in the state before reloading the page. So let's take a look at this. We'll put a debugger right there to see if the response we're getting here is correct. And if it is correct, then that means that our edit video mutation is what's in error. So this time we'll be removing the JS and hitting save. And here in our new video, all right, the JS has been removed, so it's something in the edit video mutation. And here, so the issue here is that we're never actually changing anything. We're just reassigning the v variable. And the reason why this slipped under the radar for so long is that we weren't actually using this before because the mutations were being made directly to the state. And so the fact that this mutation didn't do anything didn't matter because it was already being done with the V model. So here's what we need to do instead. We are going to need to use view.set. And if you're watching this with Vue 3, then there are going to be slightly easier ways of doing it. But the concept still applies. We need to take state.videos. That's the first argument to VueSet, the array. And then we're going to need to have the index, which we'll find here. And instead of using find, we'll use find index. And then the third argument is the new video that we're placing in there. And this should be enough to give us what we want. We'll go ahead and import Vue, of course. Otherwise, we'll get an error. And then we'll go ahead and try this out. All right, so we'll be adding back the JS and hit that, and uh-oh, there is an error. So here, this worked, and then we reload, and it did save, but there's something else going on. And so it had something to do with getMonth, which is in the date display here. We can go to the video byline where we call the date display and see that we're putting in the published at, which is coming from the video published at. And so that is going to be the source of our issue. And if we track it down, we'll see that when we're originally loading the videos, we're calling deserialize videos on all of them. But now that we're actually using the response we get from the server, we are not using deserialize videos. So that is something that we need to do. So we'll call that. And then here we will send back the attributes and deserialize videos. That goes through and makes the published at into something that can be read correctly by the date display component. But don't worry about the internal workings of that. Just know that now that we're actually using this data, we have to process it correctly. Time for one last test. So we'll be removing all this, so it's just intro 2. And we hit save. And there we go. It's properly reflected. Now that we've got a version of this working, we're going to go ahead and update everything. So anywhere it says video dot in here, we're going to replace it with video copy dot. And that should take care of a lot of it. There are a couple more, like with the S3 file upload, where we need to change that a little bit. And here as well. And then everything else should be taken care of there. Let's go ahead and test it out. All right, that's showing up. Don't worry about those errors. That's from how our S3 thing works. And we'll hit save video. And it looks like all of our updates have worked. Of course, we do still have this error that's coming from the Snackbar. So we're going to fix that in the next section. So our last violation of VueX Strict Mode is coming from these snack bars down here. When they close automatically, or we click close, then we'll get an error like this. So we need to fix that. If we go to the layout where we have these, we can see right away that we have a V model that is based on snackbar.showing. And snackbar comes from here, which comes from here, which comes from the state. So that's one of our issues right there. We're changing something on the state. So let's switch that to value and see how we do. All right, wait for it, wait for it. And then it closed without issue, which on the one hand is good, it didn't throw the error. On the other hand, that's confusing because we would expect when we're decomposing a V model that we would also have to do an input event here where we have snackbar.showing equals false or something like that. So what's going on there? If we go to the source code of vSnackbar, then we can see that when the timeout is finished, so here we're setting the timeout, and then in the function, after it's done, we're setting something called isActive to false. And so that's not something that's in the state. That is something on the component itself. And while that seems like a good thing, it actually has a downside. So we'll go ahead and wait for this one to close. And then we'll trigger another one. And oh look, they're both there. And that's because .showing is still true. So we do still need this input event. So we'll make a method called remove snackbar, and we'll pass it the snackbar. And then we'll go ahead and call that when we hit the close button as well. Then we will create that method. And that will go to our store and it'll dispatch an action. This action will be very simple. It's just going to commit a mutation. And that mutation will also be very simple. It's just going to take that snack bar and set showing equal to false. Then let's go ahead and double check our code. We are missing a quote there, and this was named slightly wrong. And now we should be good to go. So let's go ahead and give it a try. Hit that, we hit close, it works, and hit this, and there's only one of them. And I'll go ahead and let that one fade. And then try it again, and once again, only one. Before you push your app to production, one very important thing to remember is that you should not enable strict mode in production. So first of all, it has a performance cost. Second of all, if you miss something, it'll give your users that nice bright red error screen, and we don't want that. So we need to put this in our definition. So we can just copy this, and we'll go to our store index, and there we go. And I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate that it has in fact been turned on in dev, but turned off in production. What we're going to do to test is go back to our video edit form and change this first video change set to just the video. So if strict mode is turned on and we edit there, it should explode. And so go ahead and restart our server just to make sure we got the new configuration. And then here, this should explode. Good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to run it in production. So we're going to run first build. So yarn build runs nuxt build for me. And then we're going to run yarn start or nuxt start. And as you can see, it's running in production mode. All right, so let's restart this. Still running at localhost 8000, and we can change this to our heart's content. So there we go. We have demonstrated that it is now running in dev mode, but not in production. Make sure you do this step before pushing to production. And if you change stuff to test it, be sure to change it back. All right, I'll see you in the conclusion. So when I first started preparing for this course, I thought, hey, I'll help one of my users and help them figure out how to make it work in VueX Strict Mode, and then I'll never touch it again. Because my first solutions looked kind of like this, and they were not good. They were a much worse coding style. But then when I discovered the new way of doing things with video copy, I realized that not only could I easily handle the demands of strict mode, but that it brought about some extra benefits, including catching and fixing a bug that had been there a while. And so for the rest of this series, and really for all my Vue coding, I'm going to keep using this pattern, as well as keep using VueX Strict Mode.